Well, my name's Jim Swaza. I'm with the Ridgewood Guild, and today I'm here to talk with Luz Cabrales about her films that she has in the festival this year. Welcome, Luz.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Two films in this year's festival. One, which you directed, which is the Dunmore Cemetery Tour, and another one, The Libby Show, which you edited. Are the skills you need for those two jobs different?
They are and they aren't. I believe that once you have the basics of what filmmaking, what editing, and just the composition is, you're able to accomplish the projects, even though they will be a little different. The Dunmore Cemetery Tour was a little bit more of story-driven in the two story-driven shows, but one was more about following the story. And the Livy Show is more about listening to the participants telling you a story and capturing that the same way, but in a different approach, more of an interview style for that.
See, and I understand you also produce independent movies. Tell us about what skills you find essential when you're in that role.
When I produce independent films, there's a lot of research involved. So there's a lot of research prior to starting a project. So that's the key part. If you have a good foundation about what your story is going to be, what you're essentially getting into, a lot of times there's nothing. There's just an idea, or a lot of times you have a lot to work with, and you have to organize that story to be able to tell the vision, whether it's doing it for myself or doing it for somebody else and creating their vision happen. So there's, I would say research is the key part. Obviously, you have to have the skill sets to do other creative things, but you can always, as a producer, find the people that are strong to do those in your story. Or if you're going to be doing a lot of those, that takes a part in it as well. Just being able to be organized with your research and have a good foundation.
And how about the movie that you directed? It's a documentary. It's about an hour long, and was a lot of research involved in the Dunmore Cemetery Tour film?
Yes, that was, so this particular documentary was, I live in a small town, so there's a lot of sense of community. And I saw this group of people that were going to cemeteries, and they were telling the stories of the dead, right? Essentially, the people that lived in the city once are now all buried in the cemetery, and they're bringing the stories to life. So I saw that they were doing this already, and I was like, you know what? I want to be involved like them. I may not want to recreate the stories like them, because they're actors, they're theater actors, but I want to capture what they're doing. And I wanted to do some promos for them. And I reached out to the lady, and I said, her name is Julie Esty, and I said, I'm here. This is the skills that I have. These are the skills that I have. I'm willing to come and just see what you're about, if you allow me to be part of it. And she was like, great. She was like, no problem. And I went there and with the idea of doing promos and helping her grow her community. And at the end, it became more and more of a story. And I didn't know what the story was going to shape out to be, but it was going to be definitely on the tour. And it ended up being more about her and why she was doing this. She's a very eccentric and passionate woman. And just, if you see her, you're like, wow, she has a lot of energy. Like, how does she get this? How does she get about 20 people every year for 30 years plus to do this for her? And I was able to sort of get into her family that and trust. She had a lot of trust for me that she was able to share that.
That's great. So when you say 20 people, you're talking about she had 20 different actors in the community that would assist her on these tours at the cemetery?
Correct. She could sometimes she has 10, 20, 30 people at the same time. They go all over the cemetery, and you have crowds of people stopping at every spot that she has, and she tells the stories. And the way that she tells them, well, each actor tells them is just very creative and very they dress up. You know, if this was in the 1940s, they dress up as if the character was them. And they do a lot of that. So it really did. She does put that extra layer of storytelling in it, and I just felt that that was it was gearing to be. I love to tell stories, and we all tell stories in different ways. And I have never actually done a documentary before, so it was very interesting for me to learn the craft as well of just what to do.
Wow, interesting. I did love your opening shot in the Dunmore Cemetery tour. Can you tell us a little bit about how you filmed that?
Yes. So for that, I had a group of uh, filmmakers. I started Scranton Films, which is my group of filmmakers in the area, with that purpose to be able to hone their skills. They're learning as we go, and I may know a lot about a particular aspect, but they may know about other stuff. And there was this gentleman that had a drone, and he knew how to use the drone. And I was like, that's perfect. Let's put that together here. And just the way he was able to capture that crowd and that feeling of what this lady was doing in the cemetery, everyone was always able to just see it from, from Worm's view. That's what it's called, from the bottom. And this way, he was able to capture it from like an aerial shot, and you could really see the emotion that the shot had, because he was really telling the story, and all you needed was just to show that that crowd walking through the cemetery, and you were like, wow, like she's able to do this. And it really did take shape when I was able to do that same thing during the pandemic, when she wasn't able to do those tours. And there was the difference between the crowds to not having any crowds, and having to reshape her whole approach to having this tour was great. And I don't think I would have captured that just with from my point of view. I think it needed to be told from like higher up. So that was great. It also kind of put a metaphor in it that, that whatever's watching from, from up high is seeing that, like a bird or anything that passes by is seeing that as well.
Nice. Now, you must have had some challenges, I imagine, while you were filming. Can you talk about any of those for us?
Yes. Well, the main challenges were knowing that I wanted to make something. We started back in 2000, the beginning of 2018. So it took a while, as any documentary, to shape a story. And I started following her with my camera anytime I could, starting in 2018. So we had a lot of footage, and I just wasn't sure where the story was going, and if it was going to be interesting enough, right? And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, now what am I going to do? I was in the same situation that she was, because she was trying to make the tour happen during the pandemic. And then it hit me. There's my story, right? So a challenge became an opportunity. And that's what I really loved about this documentary, that even though there were challenges, the main challenge that we all face, we're still facing about the pandemic, became opportunities for a lot of filmmakers, and became opportunities for creatives to really shape the story, because I had the time as well. I also had the time to sit down, look at the footage, look at what I shot, because a lot of times I just archived it. I said, oh, I have it. I haven't had the time to sit down. And when I sat down, I had the time. I was able to see the story. And there was one scene that really captured it, is when she speaks about her mom and why she does this. And I was like, that's it. I showed it to a couple people, and I have collaborators that looked at the footage and said, there's your story, right? And I think that was, even though it was a big challenge, because after that, then I needed to, all right, we're in a pandemic, I have to make it now, right? And so I had to take the precautions to be able to get those interviews. Anything that's interview based was done during the pandemic, because I didn't have the opportunity anymore to follow the crowd or to follow them doing this. But it was great that I already had it. So that's why it took about almost 3 years to complete the project.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm sure you're not alone in having experience with the pandemic interrupting filming and those
Right.
aspects. Now, tell us a little bit about when and why you first got interested in making films.
I am almost in my 40s, right? I could say I'm okay to say in my age. I feel proud of that, right? Because it really tells filmmakers that you can do it at any age, right? But when I was younger, I immigrated from Mexico into the United States. We settled in California, and I lived there for probably about 12 years. And there I was in the heart of Star Wars, industrial light and magic, animation, a lot of artists, a lot of diversity. Me myself being Mexican, I had two cultures, right? I was starting to learn about the cultures there. So that's what I love, that there was, everybody had a story to tell. But I at that age I didn't know what I was gonna do until I got the opportunity to be mentored by industrial light and magic. Uh, um, Animators that came to the school, to the high school, and being a lower income high school, we had a great lady there that created opportunities for us to be interested and to show us, look, you can go here, you can go here. And from there, I went to college thinking I was going to be an animator, right? Because I'm going to be into animation. That's what I want to do. And I come to realize that animation was not my strong suit. And I was like, all right. I took a cinematography class, and right there and there, I fell in love with film. I was like, okay. I was like, I really like this. Over the other classes that I was taking, it was the one that it just came natural. So I started learning more about film. I started learning more about the craft of cinematography, directing, all that. And that's where I got into the filmmaking part of it. Now, I'm still working towards more and more. But from there, then I moved to the East Coast, where I'm in the Scranton, Pennsylvania area. And I went to get my graduate degree at Merriweather University, where I studied communications. And just went on, and here I am just trying to do independent films. So really, sometimes you think you're gonna do something, and life is gonna take you a different way, but it's still within the same industry, right? That is the creative aspect of it.
Good. Now, what advice would you give to novice filmmakers?
I think and sometimes I don't consider myself, like, I still have that doubt that, it's like I'm still learning. So I don't necessarily consider myself a professional, but I know I am, right? But I could say it's like things that I'm still learning, or things that I could have told myself a while back, was just, I used to be very shy, right? I had to learn the language. I had to really get out there. So I think if you really want to succeed, not just in filmmaking or in anything, is you have to first be kind. You have to be kind to people. You have to be kind of their time. If someone wants to teach you something, go for it. Even if it's something that maybe not is not what you would think that you're gonna do. Because I had training in animation, I can do, I may not be the best, but I know how to do it, right? So learn as much as you can while you're young, especially now with technology, where you can pick up your phone and you can make a film with your phone. It may not be the best film that you're ever going to create, but you are going to learn a lot. And I think if you are curious about how something works, technology, don't get caught up by I don't have the latest camera. I don't have a team of people to help me with the film. Just go out and do it. I mean, go to your backyard, start taking, really learn about the composition of how to craft a shot. If you're into editing, play around with the apps that are on your phone for editing. You can really do it anyway. So just learn as much as you can, because it will come in handy later on.
That's great. My final question for you, Luz. Have you been to other film festivals besides the Ridgewood Guild, and what have your experiences been there?
I have been to, so I have done online festivals, and I've also done the local festivals. I have gone to the Jim Thorpe. I just went last week. It's right here, Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and it's very nice. It was very engaging. I love festivals that are engaging, and they, even though you feel like, your movie's not there, but you got to come out and support filmmakers, right? Even if your movie doesn't make it to a festival. So the Jim Thorpe, we do here in Scranton, we have the NEPA Film Festival that we do every year. And I've also done, just as a, to experience it, I've gone to Tribeca in anything of those within the borough for here.
Yeah, I've been to Jim Thorpe, PA myself, and it's a great little town.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It looks like a small Switzerland, I think they say, like from Europe. So it was a very good experience, just being able to. There were a lot of New York and New Jersey filmmakers that were there.
Oh, that's nice. Great. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences on the festival circuit, and telling us a little bit about your film, Dunmore Cemetery Tour, which people can watch Wednesday night. And I hope you have a great experience at our festival.
Thank you very much. And I really do appreciate all you're doing for independent filmmakers, and you have made it very great, a great experience so far with all the seminars.
That's very kind. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.